Hi guys, and welcome to the grade 3 oral tests. Again, like I've said in previous grades, if for any reason that you've skipped grades 1 and 2 or either of those, I would highly recommend that you go back and watch through those grade 1 and 2 videos first, because again, grade 3 is an extension of those early grades as well. So let's get right into it. The first test, test A, we again have to clap in time with the examiner once we've figured out the time of the piece, the frequency of the strong beat. Now, unlike previous grades where you only had to tell if it was in 2 or 3, we now have to figure out whether it's in 2, 3 or 4. And don't forget, as you go through this video, just like in the exam, the examiner will turn you around so you can't see the keyboard and use that as an aid to help you figure out what the answers are. So do turn around when I'm doing the test part of these. But let's just get straight into the test because we've been doing these for the last 2 grades already. So, first clapping time while I play, join in as soon as you can, give a louder clap on the strong beats, and you're still clapping but weaker on the other beats, and then I'm going to be asking you whether it's in 2, 3 or 4 time. So that one was in 4. Here's another one for you to try. Clap along as soon as you can, stressing the strong beat. And that one was in 3. Here's one more before we move on to test B. And like I've said in previous videos as well, it is worth doing extra practice with your teachers on these as well. But this at least gives you the opportunity to understand what you need to do in the test, how you're being expected to respond, and then it saves time in your lessons when you could be going through all those scales that you've been practicing. So here's the final test. And that one was in 2. So moving on to test B. This is exactly the same as grades 1 and 2. We're singing back 3 phrases played by the examiner. The only difference is that, again, there's still only 2 bars, but the range of the notes is slightly wider, not much. But remember, like I've said in the previous grades, assuming that you've watched those, if when they start the range of the notes is difficult for you, they're too high or too low, you can stop and say, please could you play them a little bit higher or a little bit lower for me please, because it's out of my range. Don't just struggle. And remember, we're not after an amazing voice, we just want to get the pitch and the rhythm. And if you make an attempt and it's completely wrong, you're still going to be awarded some points for giving it a go. So, as usual, in the previous grades, I'll give you the key chord and the starting note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Nice. And here's one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Did you notice me indicating to you as to when it was your turn? Because if you did, You weren't listening earlier, were you, when I said, remember, for the tests, you should be turning around and not looking at the piano, because you're not going to be able to do that in the test. Remember, these are oral tests. These are listening tests. Okay. Now, part C, similar to grade 2, you have to recognise whether there's been a change in pitch or rhythm and how it was different. These are ever so slightly longer, not very much at all. The difference between the grade 2 and 3 oral is very, very minimal. So again, let's just get right into it. So they'll do the same thing as usual. They'll give you the key chord and the tonic. And then they'll count you 2 bars in, play the first phrase, then they'll play the changed ones, and then you say what the change was. Remember, with the pitch, you're basically just saying whether it was higher or lower. And with the rhythm, you can either explain how the rhythm changed as best you can, or you can just clap the 2, so you can say it went from this to this. So here we go. Here's the key chord again. And the tonic. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And here it is with the change. Now just pause the video while you say to yourself whether you thought it was the pitch or the rhythm and how it changed. So that one was the rhythm. And like I explained in grade 2, there are generally a couple of options that you're going to get kind of cropping up in terms of rhythmic changes. This was one of them, and it was about 3/4 of the way through. You don't have to specify whereabouts the change was, just that it changed. And what happened was, the first time round, we got this. We got a longer note, shorter note, and then the long note at the end. But the second time round, they switched those 2 initial notes from long to short to long. Like I say, if you struggle with finding the right words to express that, I would really recommend that you just practice saying, first time it went, and the second time. Okay, let's do another test. Don't forget, spin round. Here's the key chord. And the tonic. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And now with the change. Pause the video, just think to yourself pitch or rhythm and how it changed. So this one was also the rhythm, and this time in the initial first phrase we had that dotted rhythm, if you remember, that kind of military sounding long followed by a very short note. Bom, ba bom. And then the second time round, those notes were made even, equal. Okay. And again, you can go, first it went, and then it went, and that is good enough to get the full marks for that particular test. Here's one more. Key chord. Here's the tonic. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now here it is with the change. Think about whether it was pitch or rhythm and how it changed. That one was pitch. So near the end, again, you don't have to specify this at this grade. We had initially a pattern where the notes just descended, went down. Next door notes, like a little scale. The second time round, the middle note of those 3 was quite a bit lower. So the pattern of those notes was different. But all you need to say was that the change was pitch and there was a lower note. And finally, in test D, again, we're listening to a piece of music and we're answering some questions. This time, they could ask you one of the following. They could ask you about dynamics, which we know are loud and soft playing, and whether they change sudden or gradually. Articulation, which is talking about legato, staccato, whether we're playing smooth or detached. And tempo, whether it's becoming faster or slower or staying the same. Again, we had that in the previous grade, didn't we? Then the new element is that they're always going to ask you whether it was in a major or a minor key. And that is called tonality, whether it's in major or minor. The easiest way to spot whether we're in a major or minor key is just thinking about how the piece makes us feel, whether it sounds like a happy piece or whether it sounds like a sad piece. For example, we could have which would sound very different if I changed the key sounds much darker, much sadder. So the last one was in a minor key and the first one was major. Major keys and quite often at this level in the oral test they tend to make, not always but often make, the major ones quite jolly. It's not very often you get jolly minor pieces in this at this level. Okay, it's not a golden rule, but it's very likely, particularly if you can't hear what's happening and you're not sure which one it is, that's a good way to make your 50-50 choice. If it's nice and jolly, there's a high chance it's going to be major, and obviously vice versa for when it's minor. Okay, so let's have a go. Listen to this piece and I'll ask you about, and as before, I'm going to be mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you about all of them. So we're listening out for dynamics, articulation, tempo and tonality, whether it's major or minor. One of the reasons I'm getting to ask you to listen out for all of them is as you get further and further through the grades, there's more and more that you've got to be able to pick up. So it's good practice at this early stage when we're just listening out for relatively simple things within the music to be listening for as much as is possible. So here we go. Of the three sections in the music, which one was the loudest? And I would say I think it's quite obvious, isn't it? It was the middle section. Did this section change from quiet to loud playing? Did it happen suddenly or gradually? It was definitely suddenly, wasn't it? Because we'd gone from... It was really obvious. Was the upper part played with mainly smooth or detached notes? And by this they mean obviously the right hand, but you can't see that because you've remembered to turn around. So we're listening to the highest pitch, the highest part. So was that played mainly smooth or detached? And again, mainly, for the majority of the piece, it was played detached. Because even when the left hand, the lower part, started playing smooth later, it still had some staccato in that upper part. Was there any change in the speed of the music, or did it always stay the same? Did you hear it? Do you know roughly where it was? In the middle. After we changed that louder dynamic, it got slower through that bit and then we picked back up to the original speed. So, did the piece end in a major or a minor key? It feels like at this point you think, that was such a long time ago, I can't remember. Again, just think about the overall feel of the piece. It was pretty jolly, wasn't it? And you'd be right in thinking that it was in a major key, because it did change when it went loud in the middle. Very briefly went into that kind of darker minor section. Let's try another one of those. Here we go. Where was the loudest part of the music? Again, I'd say roughly in the middle. You don't have to be specific, but it wasn't the beginning and it wasn't the end, so we can call it the middle. Was it reached suddenly or gradually, that louder section in the middle? Again, gradually. it would be really obvious if it was sudden. Was there any change in the speed of the music, or did it always stay the same? Slightly more subtle than the previous piece, but it did get a bit slower at the end. Did the music end in a major or a minor key? I've just given you a bit of help by playing at the end again. Definitely minor, isn't it? Think. Okay, very, very minor. Let's do one more of those pieces. Let's have a listen to this final one. Where was the quietest part? Definitely the middle. Were the changes in loud and quiet playing sudden or gradual? I think it was quite clear in this one. They were gradual, weren't they, every time? Was the quiet phrase played with smooth or detached notes? Because generally the whole thing was quite bouncy, wasn't it? But did you notice in the middle section, a very short section as it was smooth? Did the speed change at all, or did it stay the same? What do you think? I'll show you what happened. I think it very obviously, including the reason I played a wrong note at the end, got faster. And was the piece in a major or a minor key? It was major. Well done. Thanks again for watching.